We're talking about assets here that they call it the American dream. It's like that's the bread and butter of the American dream. So it's a sensitive thing to whoever you're dealing with, right?
Mhm.
So it's almost bold. It's almost like courageous to get into that to help people with the biggest purchase of their life for most people. That's here you are now in the DC area. Do you have a demographic that you serve, or it's a whole mix? Well, hello, 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 my people, STEM2Roots. This is your host, Mike Temba. Today, I have a super special guest, somebody I wanted to have this conversation with, and you guys will find out why. All right, my brother, I want you to introduce yourself. Tell my people who you are, where you're from, and what you do, and then we'll go from there.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mike, for inviting me. Actually, it means a lot to me. We and I go way back in the early 2000, actually, back
Yes,
in Boston.
yes.
My name is Kadjolo Coulibaly from Cote d'Ivoire. Been stateside since '98. Now I reside in the DMV, which is DC, Maryland, Virginia. And I'm a real estate broker here, trying to educate the community on housing and help them acquire property and investment as well.
Hmm. Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Yeah. So, like you said, you and I, we've known each other since Boston days. This is
Yeah.
in 2004, 5 ish,
Yeah.
early 2000s.
Yeah.
And you ended up in DC. How? How did you end up in DC?
So DC has never been my was never on my radar actually. Funny enough, when I was in Boston, so in 2001, I believe I came to DC and it was not developed. And I hated it. I was like, I will never move to DC, never ever move to DC.
Huh.
But now I sell DC and I love DC.
Wow.
Come to the city. I mean, from before getting here, I
Hmm.
lived in New York, worked in New York, lived in Delaware, came down here. I was supposed to only be here for like few months,
Hmm.
and 8 years now I'm still here.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. And you're there now. You love it. And I think mainly because, like you said, when you said you sell DC,
Yeah,
what does that mean?
meaning that now I help actually build community here. So that is a thing. So selling this year, of course, you can sell a property to somebody, but
Yes.
I'm more community oriented.
Hmm.
You know,
Hmm.
so I focus on educating community, but also trying to see how can we first our folks build communities. So selling this year, I'm just helping grow different communities around here.
And that's what I wanted you to touch on because when you said sell, I wanted people to understand what you do. And I want you to expand on that, what you do as a broker, broker, what kind of broker? And I want a little more detail on, what your profession is.
Okay. So as a real estate broker,
Yes.
I have my own real estate brokerage here at a boutique firm. It's based here in Maryland.
Mhm.
It's a small boutique firm. I started this boutique firm a couple of years ago, I believe. And of course, people know as a realtor what your job is to sell houses, but more importantly, people see us as folks opening and closing door for them.
Yes.
I've never wanted to be this kind of realtors. Even in my own company, I make sure I inculcate those values within my agent and my assistant as well. I tell them we need to not just open door, but we need to educate people because education is the key. If you're not educated properly, you'll make the wrong move.
Yes.
And an asset like a property, for instance, costs a lot of money,
Yes.
but also can have a negative impact on your credit for a long time if it forecloses on, for instance.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
You could wait 3 years if it forecloses on to be able to purchase another property. Plus, you might not be able to rent a house. You might. So, I have a client actually. Funny enough,
Hmm.
we went to see a property on Saturday
Yes.
morning,
Yes. Yes.
and you're gonna make an offer on the property.
Hmm.
Probably will have gotten the property. Anyway, I'm just giving that example so you can
Yes.
comprehend the way I
Yes.
think.
Yes.
And we were chatting and we were going over numbers because he had to purchase a property, then after fix up a property, he had
Yes.
some saving.
Hmm.
And while we were conversing, I asked him to kind of play numbers and say, hey, only buy a property, make sure you can afford your mortgage.
Hmm.
Don't buy a property and counting on being able to rent rooms.
And
That's the
count
wrong
on.
way to do.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
because you might not be able to rent the room that you want to rent out.
Because that's not guaranteed. Yeah.
Not guarantee, even not get the price. If you rent, not get what you want, and plus
Hmm.
there's no lease. So I always tell people, which I don't really advocate on buying a house to rent out rooms to people. I'm like, it's your house,
It's your
enjoy
house.
your house.
Yes.
You can rent out a room,
Hmm.
but in this case, he had to rent out a room to make it work for him. So it wasn't an option
To add to their income in order to be able to afford the
to
mortgage.
afford to have a mortgage. And we were chatting, and I told him, you know what? I make my livelihood by selling houses. That's how I get paid.
Hmm.
So if you don't buy a house, I don't make any money. But also, I don't want to contribute to your financial doom. So I told him, take some time. I said, hey, as a realtor, I can tell you to buy the house, but I'll be doing you a disservice because I know
Mm.
that you can't afford the house on your own.
Mm.
And as a friend, I will not advise you to purchase a property. You don't need to buy the house. You can just rent for now. And after we can see
Wow.
what we need to do.
Wow.
So I told him, sleep on it. I told you what I think, and it's up to you. I will do exactly what you want me to do, but it should not be doing that. And yeah, it's more than
To me, already you already detailed what you do. Here you are, real estate broker, just like you said. How you make money is actually that person closing on a house,
yeah,
and you make your money. They go their way, you go yours. But here you are looking long term, looking at this person's finances, advising them that this is not the proper timing for them as an individual, and this is why I wanted you here, because you have a unique profile when it comes to that profession, right? But before all of that, the reason why we drove straight into what you do is because I wanted to discuss you as an African, an immigrant, now in the DC area, doing real estate as your profession. You came from somewhere. You
yeah,
said Cote d'Ivoire,
yeah,
and here you are. You left a French-speaking nation, ended up here in the US where it's English. Let's go back to your education. Um, when you were going to school, was it real estate you were thinking about?
no, actually, when I was going to school, I did MIS,
Okay.
Management Information System.
Yes.
And I always like to tell people laughingly, jokingly, I said, well, I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Yes.
So I was like marketing, finance, accounting, and everybody at the time was doing accounting or finance.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And I was like, I want to be different. So I did MIS, and at the time, MIS was more or less new. So it was a good conversation starter when we were talking to girls outside, and it
Yes.
made you sound smarter,
MIS.
yeah, and exotic, you know. So, so I wanted, did I really care about it? Not quite, you know. And when you go to Northeastern, you do co-op at Northeastern, so you
Yes.
work for companies.
Hmm.
There's a company that was interested at hiring me down the road. I mean, when I was doing a co-op, but
Yes.
then it was never for me. I know that early on because I like people.
To hire you in what field?
MIS,
MIS. Okay.
yeah, it was never for me because I like people. So, and my best friend said, "Hey, you know what? You should look into real estate. You might be good at doing real estate."
Okay.
And some friends in college would left to go open up a work for the parents' brokerage in Connecticut.
Okay.
And they even invited me to say, hey, come, let's go do the real estate thing. Our parents have a brokerage. We can after go and open our own companies or we can take over. And I was like, you know what? Let me just chill. I'm good. Let me have fun. But now
Wow.
I'm doing that.
Uh huh.
Yeah. So it was
Oh.
always written, actually, if you think about it.
Interesting. So, and this is why I brought that up because we all came, we cut from the same fabric. So,
Yeah.
coming as an immigrant, we came as college students, and there's a handful of like professions that most of us think you should go into, and you listed them already, and to see us go into real estate where it's almost as if it's cut out for somebody that's not from here, because here you have to immerse yourself into the community just like you're doing. You have to know, because we're talking about assets here that they call it the American dream. It's like that's the bread and butter of the American dream. So it's a sensitive thing to whoever you're dealing with. right?
Mhm.
So it's almost bold. It's almost like courageous to get into that to help people with the biggest purchase of their life. For most people, that's the biggest purchase of their life, their entire life. So it's almost bold to get into that. That's why I was interested in knowing how you got into that. Here you are now in the DC area. Do you have a demographic that you serve, or it's a whole mix?
So I had a specific plan, and I'm gonna touch that up as well because I think that might help out listeners in case
Yes.
they want to start a business.
Hmm.
So when I first I had this financial business that brought me to DC. So
Okay.
when I came to DC from the financial business, and I said, okay, well, and I had a license in Pennsylvania, which I wasn't doing much as far as real estate is concerned.
What's the license for?
It was in real estate
Okay. Okay.
in
Okay.
Pennsylvania. So I did
Yes.
the license in DC, but when I did the license, I knew that I was going to be starting my own company.
Hmm.
So right from the beginning, I was focused enough. And when I said that, I said, well, since you're gonna start your own company, what kind of route should you take? You can take the traditional route of going to a big company
Hmm.
or a smaller company.
Hmm.
And I opted to go with a smaller company. Reason why is so I could be close and could have a tight bond with the owner and learn the business from the owner.
Hmm.
And I remember a couple of folks were like, well, you can make more money if you do XYZ. If you go here, you can make more money because one, two, three.
Hmm.
But I had a vision. I
Yeah.
said, okay, I'm going to start here. So while I'm here working for the company, I will learn. And my broker, because it first started as an agent before being able to be a broker.
Hmm.
So my broker, I was very fortunate, was is very good, and I was also always posing questions.
Hmm.
I was able to develop good relationship with him as well. So I learned the business from him.
So
Give me
agent broker, by broker you mean the person you were working under. So you were
yes,
an agent, they were a broker.
the broker. Yeah, you
Okay.
cannot open a company without being a broker, for
For a
instance.
while, for a
So
certain time.
yeah,
Okay.
to make it easier. So you have an agent. Agent works in a brokerage, and the broker, yeah, just so I don't confuse people to be too
Got it. And
specific.
now you are a broker, you're a
Yeah,
business owner. Yes.
yeah. It's my so I learned from him because I had a clear vision, and while I was learning from him, I was also trying out different things because I
Got
kept telling myself, well, when I start my brokerage, let me see if one, two, three can work for my brokerage. So I wasn't really, if you want, going like for like full gear because I
it.
knew what I was trying to accomplish. But at the same time, you have to start developing a certain strategy,
Hmm.
marketing wise and visibility. So as I was getting toward starting a brokerage, I augmented my activity level because at that time I felt as if I was ready.
Yes.
But throughout the way, I spent a lot of time educating myself, learning about the trade. I
When
would
you were an agent, you
an
were
agent.
learning, just
Exactly.
knowing.
I
Okay.
was learning. I was going to attending a lot of seminars. So I invested in my education, but of course, make money and also focus on other stuff.
Hmm.
So fast forward, uh, open my stuff. But reason why, because it's important to have a vision and stay focused and say no. Because I've been approached by many people and I've said no to so many things.
What's the approach for
Approach for
example?
different opportunities and different things. Because when people see that you're very concentrated on what you're doing, you're very focused, and they assess that you're a bit serious,
Yes.
you're a bit trustworthy. People will come with different
Proposal.
so-called opportunities. You
Opportunities.
know, but you have to comprehend one thing: the opportunity is somebody else's opportunity, where he or she think that you might be a good asset for him or her.
I see what you're saying.
You
I
know?
see what you're saying. So this whole time you were fixated on a
Yeah,
vision that you had where
yeah,
you wanted to go. You were learning from a broker, from going to seminars, knowing what you want. But opportunities were coming where you were going to join somebody else's vision, but
yeah,
you were
exactly.
saying no.
I said no, yeah. And money was not my main motivation at the time.
Motivation. Got it.
You
Got
have to make enough to be able to survive, but
it.
it was more, I wasn't concerned money would come, but
Mm.
I wasn't concerned about money. It was more, okay, I need to be in a position. So when I open my own brokerage, of course, I need a year to set up a brokerage and
Mm-hmm.
everything else, but
Mm-hmm.
applying the vision. So step by step and be patient, be focused. So I did it. And
Mm-hmm.
alhamdulillah, I opened the brokerage and I'm not complaining.
I like that. You
Yeah.
don't. I love that you're not complaining. So here you are now, a broker. You own your own small business, and you're serving, like you said from the beginning, a community, helping people. And your style is, I'm not selling a house. I'm not selling apartments. I'm included in that is educating the
Yeah.
people that I serve, the people that I help. I educate them. I make sure they know the knowledge. That right there brings me to want to know, because here at STEM to Roots, what we're trying to accomplish is, um, we, you coming from Africa, I the same, and our community of listeners, you come here and you set a goal. You want, that's an economic side to what you do. You want to make money. Here you are, the vision of helping people, but your people go beyond just this community of DC. When you think about coming from where you come from,
Mhm.
have you ever thought about how can I extend what I do now to help somebody that is not here in my geographical location here in DC? Is that a thought?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I have a certification called CIPS, Certified International Property Specialist. So it's a group of realtors worldwide we together in that group, so we can easily share contact and help each other out. And I tell people, I can help you buy a house anywhere in the world.
Oh,
Yeah. So I might not be the agent representing you, but I mean, it's easy. I can help you buy a house literally anywhere in the world if you want to. So yes, I can do stuff. I even, as far as the US is concerned, this week, the past 2 weeks, I sent out two referral to another realtor in Atlanta, for instance.
hmm,
I'm sending referral to folks in different part of the US because
hmm,
that was part of my strategy as well, to be able to build to develop this business in a way that I could just being able to, because when people come to me, because
yes,
from anywhere, I say, hey, Kadjolo, I want to buy a house. No big deal. Say, hey, what do you want to buy a house from? Let's say I want to buy a house in Michigan, which I'm not licensed there. I'm
yes,
licensed in DC,
uh-huh.
Maryland, Virginia, Pennsylvania. So I can help there personally. So outside of those four states, I have to refer to another realtor.
Ah,
So I
okay,
tell people, well, okay, that's fine. I'm gonna get a realtor to help you out to purchase there, but I can just advise you on general things, and
mm,
so at least I educate you on the real estate. And I always tell people to go watch my videos if
yes.
you're on Facebook. I mean, you watch my videos.
I know your videos. If you're on Facebook, if you're on LinkedIn, information. You're always sharing information, and this is what more the more that what attracted me to you, because you readily just give that information to whoever is ready to listen. And I hope towards the end of this we share where anybody that wants any kind of knowledge that is real estate related can gain something from all the nuggets that you share. Coming from where I come from in Gambia, real estate is something, especially like this style of real estate, how houses are sold. Gambia was not selling houses similar to how you're selling houses until recently. Because even when I left, it was not the same. Now I'm hearing stuff about mortgages, houses that are built already and they're selling them already finished, which was not the style then. How is the real estate market, as far as in Africa? How is it compared to what you know in the DC, Pennsylvania, Virginia area?
I mean, to begin with, I think there's like movement. Things are changing. You know,
Hmm.
I feel like there's an approach to more or less, I won't say duplicate, but to trying to replicate some of it, not replicate fully,
Hmm.
but to kind of pick and some of the things that we do here over there. I don't really subscribe to just replicating everything because
Yes.
it's two different culture, different
Doesn't fit all
cultures.
the time.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So
Hmm.
it's a matter of trying to say, okay, here's what's working here, here's what's working over there, here's what not working over there. Can I use what's working here? How can I use what's working here to make sure it's going to fit over there? So what
Hmm.
do I need to change? So I'm seeing some movement toward this kind of route to
Okay.
change things around.
Hmm.
And I think it's a matter of time. And one thing also, a lot of people have live outside of the continent. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
people are going back into the continent. So
Mm-hmm.
as people are returning back home, they're returning back home with certain skill set, certain way of thinking.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's why we start seeing some changes now, a lot more. Let's say you and I go back home
Yes.
in the next 5 years, we're
Mm-hmm.
gonna bring what we know from here,
Yes. Yes.
and it's going to make an impact. Perhaps not a big impact, but even if it impacts 10 people,
Mm-hmm.
those 10 people perhaps in return can impact 10 other people.
Yes.
Other folks come back as well from here, so it's
Yes.
gonna take time, but there are some steps toward this direction.
Yes. You touched on it. You said, perhaps being able to go back and connecting back to where we come from.
Yep.
Here's what I want to know.
Okay.
So for you, you've put all this time, certifications, learning from a broker. You get this CIPS, which I didn't know anything about until you mentioned it. Learning from seminars. So you've invested a lot, time and money, into all the knowledge you have. Is that knowledge that you can just uproot and take it over to Ivory Coast, to Cote d'Ivoire, and say, "Hey, here I am. I've learned enough, and I can use that knowledge here." Is that a possibility?
So we have to sit in different angle because I have a discussion with people sometime.
Mm-hmm.
Taking that knowledge to go in there just like that would be a bit arrogant. So I don't want to just think because this is perfect here is going to go there. I have to go with a level of humility first of all. I have to be humble enough to know, okay, what I know here isn't as important as what I don't know over there. So once I start comprehending how things works over there properly,
Yes.
then I can start thinking, okay, well, I know how things work there. I know how things work here. Where do I see the holes, or what do I think can be changed?
Mm-hmm.
But I cannot just go with like, okay, I'm a broker here. Perhaps everything is going fantastic. Oh yes, let me just go do what I'm doing here, and over there it won't work.
Yes,
So,
because it's a different place. We're talking about Africa. We're talking about a
yes.
different country, different laws, different culture, and all that. And that applies to a lot of other professionals that I speak to that do other things, where some knowledge is transferable and some is not, and that has been difficult for a lot of people in terms of them thinking about whether it's going back home or being able to do something at home. It basically forms this barrier where they're not able to figure out how to use all the knowledge that they've gathered. You've been a professional for a long time now, and at the end of the day, I know I can speak for you that you wouldn't want all this knowledge wasted. Have you thought about Africa as a place where you can take knowledge that you have and use it in Africa and gain economically, as much as you are gaining or trying to gain here? So now this is me shifting over to the kind of like the compensation part, like being able to fill your pockets. Because at the end of the day, we have to focus on that too. Because why else are we living?
Yeah, that's a good point. So I'm going to add one more thing, one more. I mean, because I have a few certificates. So I have a certificate called At Home with Diversity.
What is it? What
At
is it?
Home with Diversity.
Okay.
So in that touch up exactly what you asked about, transferring here to go to on the African continent or anywhere else in the world. So you just basically in that course you just learn different culture and how to be able to work with different cultures and different kind of personality, different kind of communities as well.
Hmm.
So hence it's important to educate oneself, so because things are constantly changing. So can I go home
Yes.
and make money? I'm an entrepreneur, so it doesn't really matter what I go to Cote d'Ivoire, I go to Gambia, I go to Senegal, I go to South Africa. For me, the place again, I like to tell people I don't sell houses. I manage people emotion.
Mm.
That's all it is,
Mm.
because a house
Mm.
is anybody can open a house. Even my 8-year old, when he was 6, he actually sold the house. Literally, I kid you not. We went to get and we were spending time. I said, okay, let's go sell a house.
Yes.
He went. And so when I take him to go show houses, he likes it. He likes to go in the house and start showing the house to client and stuff.
Yeah.
He loves it, you know.
Yeah.
So I
That's
said, okay,
nice.
well, I said, let's go. So we opened the door, and my clients were very chill, relaxed. And granted, I worked with them for a while. We
Uh-huh.
hadn't picked the house yet,
Uh-huh.
you know. Then the child comes, he opens the door and he starts showing, they say, come, he starts showing them the house, one here, there, take them upstairs. He literally did my job,
The showing. Yeah. Yeah.
showing,
Yeah.
again, showing, not
Yes. Of
educating, you
course.
know.
Of course.
And guess what? We bought the house.
So they were able to. He was able to sell it
Exactly.
because that was him, like him. Because you come as a salesperson, is sometimes it's the information you give, sometimes the appearance and the emotions that you drive them into doing.
Exactly. And
Mm,
he gave his little, I like to say, his little baby opinion. And his opinion made sense, of course. I
mm,
talked to him about real estate, so he
yeah,
hears what I say, so it was
yeah,
more like strength.
uh,
So I use that example to say anybody can sell a house.
I hear you. Hmm.
Now, the
Hmm.
reason why I say I'm into the people business really
Yes,
because it's an emotional process and a lot of
yes,
things involved in that. I gave an
yes.
example of my client on Saturday who was about
Hmm.
to purchase something that did not make sense for him.
Uh-huh.
So therefore, I'm constantly trying to see how things move. So by doing that, I can easily get up from here and go elsewhere and replicate the people aspect of it. Reason
Hmm.
why? Because I will
Hmm.
learn first how
Yeah.
how people think more in that part of the world. So once I know how people think in that part of the world, the rest is a bit easier. I have clients from different nationalities, different part of the world.
Hmm.
The francophone think a certain way, the anglophone think a certain way, the this think
Yeah.
a certain way. So whenever
Hmm.
I'm dealing with folks from different part, I have
Hmm.
to readjust how I'm talking, how I'm behaving, and how much I say, how
Wow.
much, and those kind of
Wow.
things. So once you
Mm.
comprehend that, then going elsewhere, it's purely people. A house is a product.
Oh man. Wow. I didn't think of it like that. So here you are, you have a client come in, you see who they are, you try to know who they are and actually find the angles to go with. What to say, what not to say, what you think has to be part of the conversation, what you know would be. So basically it's not one size fits all. Like a client comes, I want a house, you know what to do with them. It's actually every client that comes, you figure out by who they are, how to go about, getting them to a home if that's what they want.
Exactly. That's what it is. Let's go from here because you'll pick a house. But how can I help you come from here? Either get out of your own way, get the
Hmm.
right education, and then you get the ideal house.
Africa, a continent where you think what you know right now, and I'm not talking about replication, but more like you've seen. Let's put it in context so that people will understand more. I come from a place where somebody goes buys a house, owns land. Maybe your grandparents gave it to your father, or your father owns it. You build whatever your pocket gives you as far as building your house, right? Some houses unfinished, some more expensive than others, but every house you see, mostly until now, mostly every house you see, it shows you how much those people have, right?
Yep.
And here in the US, you can see the class difference when it comes to houses. But most houses, are finished and somebody's paying a mortgage according to their income, right? So that style is there. Have you thought about that, and actually put one as better than another, or more advantageous than another, or puts people in a better place than another? Have you compared real estate in Africa and real estate in the US? Have you ever thought about it?
Yeah. So let's just even just stay stateside for instance, because
Yeah.
when you go back home, you're talking about cash and not versus financing. So
Right, right.
here you have people buying cash as well. Uh,
Hmm.
I have clients
True.
purchasing property cash, and people are doing cash, and people are doing financing. There are
Hmm.
pros and cons to both.
Okay.
At least in my opinion. Yes, people say just finance, you put less amount of money and then the money is sitting there growing.
Hmm.
Makes sense. Put
Uh-huh.
100K down, 50,000 down, 15,000 down according to your mean. You can put as low as
Yeah.
3% down to purchase a
Hmm.
property.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if you're aware of that, you know.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I didn't know.
So you can put 3% down and then and go from there. Home ready, home possible, 3% down. You can do 3.5 for FHA. Actually, with FHA, you can buy a house in theory with a credit score of 500. You have to put 10% down. That's a different thing.
I see.
I just put it out there
Yeah.
while
Yeah.
we're
Yes.
talking. And by the way, also as we're talking, I'm answering that. For those looking to purchase as a first-time home buyer, you can easily buy up to a 4-unit building with 3.5 down by going through FHA. So if you're looking to purchase a property, and let's say you're like, you know what, I want to get a small building, you can go up to 4. You can get a 2-unit, 3-unit, 4-unit, and put 3.5 down for FHA.
STEM to roots, the way we want to go about this conversation and the nuggets that you're dropping, I hope people know that this is relevant for them, and this is where I will go in my next segment. But you touched on something that usually halfway through we've spoken for about half an hour now. I like to lighten things up by having my guests just teach me and my audience just something that they think I don't know, like I mentioned to you already, and for you already you have 10 things already. But did you prepare anything for me at all? And the way I play this game is you teach me something. If I know it, I tell you right away, bro, you failed, because I know what you just taught me. But if I don't know it, I admit to it, and I hope people that are listening also learn something from it. Do you have anything prepared for me that you think I don't know?
Well, okay, I think I could have actually any of what I just said earlier.
Yes.
So I'm not going to something else. Do you know the investor test in real estate?
Investor test?
Investor. So when you own a house, let's say you
Yes.
buy a property today,
Yes.
and
Yes.
you want to purchase another property.
Hmm.
Let's say you just bought yourself one house and you want to get
Yes.
another house.
Right away.
So do you know how to still be able to have a pretty good interest rate and not have that qualify as owner occupied?
I have no idea. As far as I'm concerned, when I purchased this house I live in 2020, I thought, all right, with my type of income, with our type of income, we bought a house. This is not something we can't touch anything when it comes to buying anything else for a long time. So, please educate me.
So when you buy a house, for instance, your first house, let's say you buy
Yes.
your house somewhere, I'm not sure where, but let's say house A. Now you're just like, you know what? We make more money. Or you want to relocate elsewhere. And now you're thinking I'm gonna have to put 20% down, 30% down. The second property.
Uh-huh.
So a second property can be seen differently. I'm gonna put 20, 30, whatever it is, higher
Uh-huh.
interest rate.
Uh-huh.
Now, if you move from a smaller home to a bigger home, it might pass the investor test because we're trying to see, are you ameliorating your life, for instance. If you're moving, for instance, 50 miles away, I think it's about 50 miles, but don't quote me on that. I'm not a lender.
Uh-huh.
Best ask your lender to get, because regulation change all the
Yes.
time.
Mhm.
But if you move about, I believe, 50 miles roughly, you can check with your lender to make sure of that. You
Mhm.
might pass the investor test. And passing the investor test is good because it would allow you to still be able to put less money down and have a better interest rate.
So when you do that, are you selling your current property to move into
I
something
mean,
bigger?
I mean, you can sell. I mean, assuming you're holding your current property.
Yes.
But I don't want you to basically buy an investment property, because if you do, the interest rate is higher and the down payment is higher. So you can
Uh-huh.
say, well, I own a condo, now I'm moving into a townhouse.
I see.
So
I
I live
see.
in this zone, now I'm going over there, perhaps for yada yada yada. And
Ah,
then I live in a one-bedroom house, I'm going to a three-bedroom house, those kind of things.
yes.
Now that house you're holding, perhaps you can put it for rental. Now,
Yes.
if you put it for rental, the bank will utilize 75% of your rent of a rent amount to
Mm-hmm.
qualify as your income. So let's assume that the house is renting for 1,000 a month.
Mm-hmm.
The bank's gonna use 750 as your income,
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
25% is used for vacancy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if your mortgage is 750,
Mm-hmm.
it's a wash. Now, if your mortgage is 1,000 a month, because it's like, I'm just gonna rent it out for however
Yes.
much I pay a
Yes.
month, now
Yes.
you can have a deficit as far as the bank is concerned of 250.
Yes.
as your debt.
Makes sense. That
So
makes
those are
sense.
small things people can, but ask your lender, of course, to make sure. I'm not a lender. I'm a realtor. So I just drop that there for folks. Of course, I can get you in touch with some lenders, and they can better clarify. So just
This is brilliant, and thank you for that. I didn't know anything about that, and this is actually a perfect segue to where I want to go on this next segment.